Hello. If this video has appeared on your screen, then it's materialized right when you needed it to. So, welcome to Real Television. My name is Spencer, and this is the third episode of basically interpretations from Spirit from your favorite films and all that good stuff. Although eventually I'd like to branch out to like books and like music and stuff just to see if there's any like, oh my gosh, my stupid septum is not even. Anyway, I'm not picking my nose, I promise. No, but eventually I would like to expand to those things, like I said, I think in the second episode. But the channel is basically, if you are new here, is basically just that, as well as a way for me to eventually get the word out about my books that I'm writing. Yes, I said multiple books. One of them is basically how to see the blueprint of media and everything in the world of spirit using everyday media. So, just like I'm doing here, essentially. But um, the other thing is, let's see, what is next on the docket here? Oh, good news for the week. So, good news for me this week is right here. Excuse the zit on my neck, but the I finally got up to about a half an inch, so that's exciting. I think it's like 12.7 millimeters, depending on where you're from, but something like that. But the half an inch, I'm halfway to where I want to be, which honestly, I think I'm gonna probably get to an inch of my goal size and be very disappointed. I'm be like, I need to go bigger. So we'll see what happens when we get there, of course, but I just want to get to a size you can actually see the images on things that I get, or like the little characters or whatever, because I've seen quite a few on Etsy, by the way, that are really cute. So maybe I'll do that. But that's my good news for the week. Not much this week, unfortunately, but I am a day late from when I was originally posting or going to post this. But that's okay because, divine timing and all that. So maybe there was something that needed to happen today rather than yesterday. So you never know. Now, go ahead and share in the comments as usual what your good news is for the week, because that's what I'm trying to cultivate here as far as a community. Um, People feeling comfortable to share who they are in the comments without any sort of judgment, within reason, of course. Um, but yeah, just be a good person and don't be a DICK. Not sure if that's gonna get flagged by YouTube, so I just spelled it out. But yeah, this week I was prompted to watch The 13th Year, which, if you haven't seen it, is a Disney original movie from, like, I think it's the beginning of the 2000s, like just before the 2000s started. I think it's like a 1999 movie. But I rewatched it and I just realized how terrible the acting was, for lack of a better term. Like, you could totally tell that they were just putting as much emphasis in the words rather than their acting as possible. I could just tell. I don't know if anybody else has seen it and knows what I'm talking about, but it's still a good movie. It's very obviously original because it is an original movie. But I personally liked it just because it's kind of a queer movie, in my opinion. Like, it's not directly like queer. Obviously, nobody's actually gay or trans or whatever in there. But for me, I watched that as a kid. I'm like, oh, this is great. I love mermaids. I love da 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 da. Like, they weren't my favorite fantasy creature, but definitely right up there with werewolves and dragons, of course. But um, yeah, no, I was just kind of prompted to watch it because I've been seeing a lot of like words, and I just saw 414, which is the time I was born, which is great. How synchronistic. But anyway, I've been seeing a lot of tridents, or like the word trident has come up. Poseidon specifically has come up. So maybe if somebody's a follower of Poseidon that sees this video, maybe there's something that Poseidon is trying to tell you. Um, I know I have deities that I, work with as well. So I don't really work with any Greek gods necessarily, except for Hecate. Um, the only other one I can think of that might be even remotely related to that is Gaia. So I don't know. But anyway, point is, I've been getting a lot of symbolism that ties into this movie. And I felt like, okay, so there must be some sort of lesson in this that I need to know as well as my collective needs to know. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So this one's a little bit longer than the other ones so far, but well, I don't know. That first episode was pretty long. But anyway, I'll go ahead and put, the synchronicities that I've been seeing and the ones that I was prompted to share here. Feel free to pause. So yeah, first scene that I had was when I was doing the meditation was where the main character is found as a baby in the boat, and the message that immediately came through, surprisingly, was, well, not surprisingly, but surprisingly because I wasn't expecting that specific message, was basically, Spirit loves you just as you are. You might feel different, but it's by design. All you have to do is understand why. It might seem, I can't read my chicken scratch. It might seem unfair at first, but once you see how beautiful you truly are as a person, you'll see life a different way, a better way than you thought possible. So that's the first one. And it's, Spirit's got jokes because like you'll see it in a different way you didn't think possible. Yeah, because, mermaids and mermen aren't real, supposedly. But I will say, from a scientific standpoint, we don't know what's in the ocean. We don't know what's down there. Who knows? Maybe the people from Atlantis are down there. Who knows? And they've learned to breathe water. So I'm keeping an open mind, but, it's whatever. Next message. And I suggest you should too. Keep an open mind with all things, of course. At least that's what I do. So, but anyway, the other thing is the scene with Jess, his friend. I forget what the main character's name is right now, but I'll just say main character, or just search it up here in a minute if it bothers me enough. But Jess is sharing his interest in those tide pools with like the hermit crabs and those little sea urchins, I think they're called. But he was just basically explaining, like, this is what nerds do. This is what I enjoy. It's not what you jocks enjoy, but I like this. And this is what nerds do to spend their time doing or whatever. So the message that I got was, you might feel alone, but you have your own team, even if you aren't aware yet, both in the physical and in spirit. Ancestors and guides and guardians protecting you. You can talk to them when it gets heavy, or even when it's not. When you talk to them, it builds that relationship stronger every time. And I know mine has gotten stronger a lot, especially lately. Like, I know I'm a little bit clairaudient because I'll meditate and I'll hear something in my head. I'm like, that does not sound like my inner monologue. Okay, what is that? So, like, the other night I had asked about something, and I forget what it was, but I had asked whether, well, actually, I think it was towards the end of this meditation session for this movie, and I said, is that everything? Like, last time I got an emoji in my head that was like, thumbs up, that's it. Spirit's real funny that way. But last night I was able to hear, like, it sounded like one of my guides or guardians or something. I'm not sure exactly who said it yet, but I know it sounded like an older spirit and more like on the male side of things because it was a deeper voice, something gentle but strong, that kind of thing. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what I got the inkling about. So hopefully my guide is okay with me sharing that, but I haven't heard a no, and I haven't gotten a ringing in the ear, so I'm all good. But like I said, just with that example, it's gotten stronger to the point where I'm like, okay, I totally get that this is not my thought. This is one of my guides talking to me. And, personally speaking, I hope to actually be able to hear it a little clearer every time. But yeah, the other thing is the next scene is Jess falling into the pool with his giant tuba. The poor kid, accident prone. And maybe you're accident prone, or somebody that you're close to is accident prone. Maybe that's relevant for you. I forgot to include that in my little list. But sometimes you have to let go of things that no longer serve you. If you don't, you'll feel like you're drowning under it all. Just like you would, if you were him, you would be this tiny boy that's holding a giant ass tuba and drowning under the weight of it. So it's very important to let go of things that don't serve you. Otherwise, it's going to, for lack of a better term, make your life miserable. So I guess one of the examples is, living for other people instead of yourself. So like if you have expectations put on you by parents or friends or whatever, and you're afraid to go outside of that because of what they'll say or what they'll do, they're not your actual friends. They're not your actual family. Like even if they are actual family, like your family shouldn't treat you that way. So I don't know. Just something to think about, of course. Now, the next part is towards the end of the movie where Jess's dad is trying to capture what's his name? Let me look up the main character's name because it's gonna drive me nuts. 13th year main character. Excuse me. Confirmation burp. Cody. There we go. Cody. That's what we need to know. All right. So Jess's dad is trying to capture Cody and his mom for proof for other people that have been making fun of him for thinking that mermaids are real and, all that stuff. So the message here that I got for that is trying to prove yourself to those who don't care or are already unwilling to see you for who you are is only going to exhaust you. Belief in yourself is enough. If you feel trapped by being yourself, free yourself by embracing you and those who see you for who you truly are. Don't let others who don't have your best interest in mind sap your energy. Only share your energy if absolutely necessary with those people. So basically, just kind of what I was saying before, don't let other people tell you what to do, essentially. Unless it's your job, of course, you have to do something that's within what they want you to do, of course. But, just kind of feel out the situation and see what you need to do to feel okay and still get the job done, whether it's your job or friends or family or whatever. But yeah, and I will stop here just for a second just to kind of explain one of the things I listed as the synchronicity. Catfish for some reason came up, so maybe somebody does what is that called, noodling or something? I forget what it's called, but you put your hand in murky water and you catch the catfish with your hand. That's one thing. That's what came up, is just the catfish, though, not noodling. But I looked up what the catfish symbolically is supposed to mean, and it just says, of course, you can do your own research, and I always, tell people, do your own research with some of these symbols and all of that, and if you're, called to do so. But this is what I found. It says, make the best of where you're at right now. Find all the happiness and emotional growth and spiritual growth that you can. Trust your instincts. And then you're more adaptive than you think. And only then can you live with unconditional love and support and acceptance, which is all about self-discovery. So with that being said, catfish are meant to show that you're catfishing yourself if you don't look within, at least that's what I think. That's immediately what I got. So yeah, share your thoughts and feelings in the comments, of course, with everything that I'm saying on these videos, because I want to hear if I'm making an impact for somebody in a good way, and maybe even lighting a way for somebody, because that's all I really want to do, is just help people. Just because I can't go back to school, I can't afford that, because I was thinking, maybe I could go back for nursing or something, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So I think this is what's going to happen. But that's probably a good thing, because I'm going to be writing books. So, yay. That's my ultimate dream, is to write books and stories, and eventually maybe for movies and all of that cool stuff, and maybe some adaptations and all that. So we'll see if they end up being popular enough. But anyway, I digress. Next thing is the scene towards the end where Jess shocks, or no, not Jess, Cody shocks Jess's chest. Say that 5 million times. After drowning. So it says, you'll shock people awake by trusting your own power. You'll both be happier for it. And that might not be immediate either. I want to say, because if you are yourself in front of somebody and they end up having a negative reaction, they may not think of it later, but maybe down the line, if they find themselves doing a lot of introspection, which, let's be honest, a lot of people like that probably won't have that kind of, guidance to do something like that. At least not initially. So depending on what happens in their life, I hope you know what I mean. But with that being said, if you're having like shocks of static electricity, of course, that might be relevant. Maybe that's a sign for you. But yeah, the next thing is a couple more scenes here. The tour boat engine breakdown at the beginning of the movie. It's all a part of Spirit's plans, all cogs in a big machine we call life. So basically, like, you are just one part of life, and your cog might be connected to someone else's cog in a sense of, if you do something good or bad, it will throw off other cogs and other people or help them. So like, for example, if you think of it, instead of a cog, you could think of it as a pool of water, and your ripple effect, your drops into that water, and you have all these other lily pads or whatever. Your ripple can have effects on where those lily pads are in the pool. So with that being said, just make sure that you're putting good out into the world more than bad, and it's not even really bad. It's just, lower vibrational thinking, or just limiting beliefs and stuff like that will end up putting out lower frequency, if that makes sense to somebody. Of course, I'm new to all this too, so I'm learning right along with y'all. But yeah, with that being said, hopefully that helps somebody. And then the last thing here is the scene where Cody wins the state race, but runs away because his forearms have the fins on him, and he's like, oh shit, all these people see my secret, essentially. And the bully chases him into the locker room. So the message here is, some people will feel intimidated. Like I said before, what I was just talking about, some people will feel intimidated or fearful of you, but it's only because your light is brightening. Realize they are searching for their own, but think the only way is to steal light from others. Protect yourself by avoiding and or using protection magic, whichever you're comfortable with, both if possible. So yeah, if you're comfortable and you are using magic in your spiritual practice, definitely do that. I know I'm slowly getting into that too. I even made my own like guard and everything for my little shack I'm in. So I'm still getting used to it. I have a lot of, obsidian and quartz crystals kind of just dispersed throughout wherever, just for that reason. And I have, the little evil eye over here protecting me in the videos, especially because I make sure it's turned every time. I'm like, hey, don't do it. But yeah, hopefully that helps somebody. And let me know in the comments if you're comfortable, or if you want, if you're comfortable sharing with what you're going through or whatever, because I'm definitely willing to, have a conversation if needed, of course. Either the community will or I'll respond, especially just because the channel is so new. I do have time to do that. I suspect, later, once the channel grows a little bit more, I might not be able to do that. So I'm going to just take the advantage and try to be as interactive as possible in the comments. And of course, if there's anybody giving you trouble, send me a message. I'll take a look at their comment, and if I need to, I will get rid of it so that it's not hurting our community that we're trying to build. I don't know what's going on with my voice, but maybe it's like a throat chakra thing for somebody that's watching. But it could just be that I'm just not drinking enough water, and that could be the thing too. Maybe you're not drinking enough water. Think about that. Because I know I need to drink more water. But yeah, with that being said, the last thing is I always talk about my books at the end of every video. The first book I'm working on, like I said, is the one related to this channel. It's called Real Television with One Foot in Reality. That's the tagline. It's basically just kind of a memoir, if that makes sense. I don't want to talk too much about it, just because Spirit has said you need to keep this one kind of on the down low as far as what it is. But definitely keep your eye out for that, because that's going to be super important for a lot of people. It might give them insight on finding their own light and all that good stuff through past experiences of mine, as well as asking them to look back on their own. So that's just putting it kind of a blanket statement on what that book is supposed to be for. So, but yeah, I will say, I'm trying to listen to see if Spirit wants me to say anything else, because I'm kind of getting the pump the brakes signal here. So I'm like, okay, I'll shut up. So with that being said, I can't say much more about that one, but I can tell you a little bit more about my science fiction fantasy series. Although it's kind of multi-genre, so it's not really going to fit easily into one genre. This is something I've been working on for years. I just haven't been able to figure out how to get it going until fairly recently. It's all planned out. I just have to sit down and write, essentially. Both of them are. It's just one of them is taking precedence over the other just because of the spiritual side of the messages that I'm getting about getting that one done first. So with that being said, keep an eye out for that too. I'll probably put some merch out on my Etsy at some point once we, get that going, which that might not even be for another year though, to be honest. But I do want to get the word out about it now in case y'all want to know a little bit more about that one, because I'm totally willing to do videos about like any symbolism about it, or like character backstories, stuff like that. And maybe even a preview of like the first chapter. That would be really cool. Just ideas, of course.